Hi, everyone, and welcome to Grace Conversations. I'm John Freeman, and we're here with Kevin Jackson. Today, we're going to talk about the grace experience. Kevin, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
What was your life like before you became a Christian?
Well, like I said, John, thank you for having me here, and it's my privilege to be able to do this. My life before I became a Christian was like many people in the South. I was raised in a Christian home, baptized at a very young age, attended church regularly, was in Bible drill. And in fact, before I became a Christian, I probably knew 50 to 60 Bible verses that I had learned in Bible drill. I was a good little church boy. I tried to keep the rules, tried to make sure my record was clean and it was good enough. But man, I was guilty and very insecure. I would shift the blame from myself, even hide my sinfulness, and would blame other people and sought to justify myself. But what I was really after was approval. I wanted people to approve of me and like me. I wanted to be accepted, and so I thought that being the good little church boy and keeping all the rules would gain me that kind of approval.
So then, what made you come to Christ?
Well, it was guilt, guilt over sin. It was heavy, and I was tired. I was tired from trying to earn, God's respect, keeping those rules and trying to be good and making sure that my record was good enough. I was tired. I was tired of keeping up the appearance. I was tired of trying to fool everyone into thinking that I was something that I wasn't. And it was just heavy. The guilt of my sin was just heavy. And the problem with me that I experienced was that I was fooling everybody except God and myself. So I came to Christ for relief. I came to Christ for deliverance from this burden of guilt, shame, insecurity. I came to Him for salvation from those things. I just couldn't take it anymore. I was just too tired, and so I put up my white flag of surrender. I ran it up my flagpole, and I said, I need you, Lord. I need you to keep the rule for me and to earn this standing for me.
So, what is your life like since you came to Christ?
A constant struggle. That was an easy one. I continue to be guilty. Even though Christ has taken my guilt and died for it on the cross, I still experience guilt on a daily basis. And that guilt, of course, breeds shame. And I am a recovering Pharisee. I'm a rule keeper. I try to earn people's approval by the things that I do. I try to gain people's respect and trust by the things that I do. So for me, it's a struggle because on one side, I hate the sin that I commit on a day-to-day basis. At the same time, though, I love Christ. And in Christ, I have the approval of God. In Christ, I have the acceptance of God. And I'm secure in Him, and I'm forgiven in Christ. And in fact, the Father respects me because I'm in Christ. Christ has earned what I couldn't earn, and He's kept the rules and the law, so to speak, that I couldn't keep or earn. And so because He's earned that, He's secured for me this standing before God, this respect before the Father. And so I'm constantly in between these two. One, I still sense and feel the guilt because I still sin against God and against my neighbor. So every day I have to come back to Christ. I think one of the dilemmas that I'm faced with as a believer, and frankly that anybody would be faced with as a believer, is that you don't come to Christ one time. You come to Christ one time, of course, you start, but you come to Christ day after day after day after day. So it's that old Paul way of explaining salvation, that you are saved, you are being saved, and you will be saved. So there's a past, a present, and a future context to your salvation. And so my life as a Christian now is marked by struggle. Struggling to fight the sin and the indwelling remnants of sin that are still in me, while at the same time coming to Christ day after day and putting my faith in the gospel and renewing my mind by the truth of what Christ has earned for me. Because as I said a moment ago, man, I am a recovering Pharisee, and if I don't come to Christ, then I am going to naturally think, I've got this on my own. I can keep the rules. But that just makes me tired. It's exhausting, and so in that exhaustion, Christ's grace covers, Christ's forgiveness is extended, Christ's righteousness is my righteousness, and so I would say struggle. That's a short way to say it, but the notion that when you come to Christ everything's okay needs to be obliterated, because in many ways the fight begins when you come to Christ. I didn't struggle with sin before I was a Christian. I frankly enjoyed it. Now is the struggle. So that's what life is like since I became a Christian.
So then, from what you're just saying, what's the biggest misconception that you want people to know about Christianity?
Well, I want people to know that Christianity is not for good people. It's not for good people. Jesus uses the parable that healthy people do not go to the doctor, and sick people go to the doctor. But Christianity is not for good people. Christianity is for bad people. So that's a misconception. The misconception about Christianity is that you're good and that God accepts you. And that is the farthest thing from the truth, because there's no such thing as a good person. Romans 3:10 says that. There's no one good, no, not one. So preachers are not good. Deacons are not good. Elders are not good. Members of churches are not good. There's no one that is good. And that's a misconception. So Christianity is for people who know that they are broken. Christianity is for people who know that they're unfixable, that they can't fix themselves, that they're broken to a degree that only Christ can heal them. And when Christianity is viewed in that light, then you can trust Christ to forgive your sin and to make you acceptable to God, because after all, He's your only hope of acceptance with God.
Well, thank you for being so honest and vulnerable with us today. What one last thing would you like to say to people like you listening today?
Well, I feel like, especially living where we live, I feel like many people share my story of growing up in church and being taken to church and being baptized at a young age and going through the ordeal of religion at a young age. And I think there are a lot of people, especially in our town, that need Christ. That maybe what has been given to them in terms of the message is not really the message. And so I think Christ being the rule keeper in your place, Christ being good in your place, that's the gospel. That's what people need to know, and that's what can change a person's life. So what I would say, in terms of one last thing that I could say to the people is, come to Christ. Come to Christ because you are not able to fix yourself. You are broken. You're unable to be good. You're unable to keep the rules. You're unable to earn a good record before God. And so your life is filled with guilt, and your life is filled with insecurity and shame, and you try to hide your sin, and you blame other people, and you even try to justify yourselves at times, but come to Christ. He says in Matthew 11:28, all you are heavy laden, you're burdened, come to me and I'll give you rest. So that's what I would leave with them, is that the gospel gives you rest. It gives you peace with God because Christ grants you forgiveness and grants you the approval of God and the acceptance of God and the respect from God and the identity and the security. And you just go on and on and on what Christ has earned for you by way of His life and His death and His resurrection.
Thank you, Kevin.